Welcome to Chapter 2 of A Realm Retold. In this chapter, we will be covering the Crystal Tower Alliance raid. What was once a piece of side content for A Realm Reborn, it was turned into a main requirement to continue the story into Heavensward. It contains a lot of important information in its story that is used throughout the Shadowbringers expansion. Before we start getting carried away though, let's begin our tale. We hear from a mysterious man in Mordona stating that we are given a rare opportunity to uncover the wisdom and secrets of the Crystal Tower. He tells us to meet a man who is known as Rambros, a Rogadin with no hair except for a white beard upon his chin, a man who was once a member of the Circle of Knowing, led by Louis Soir. We are going to go on an expedition to the Crystal Tower with our old friend Sid. Sid recites to us about how the Crystal Tower was a hidden piece of architecture and it should have remained that way, undisturbed until it started to get revealed with the 7th Umbral Calamity, a gleaming spear of crystal pointing towards the heavens. In front of the Crystal Tower, 8 statues can be seen with glowing crystals in the center. It is impossible to enter as the statues are blocking the entrance with some sort of defenses left behind by the Allagans. These defenses are known as the 8 Sentinels. If you're wondering why we just didn't attempt to fly over it, it seems that anything that gets close to the tower is also blasted out of the air. The 8 Sentinels must be destroyed, otherwise we won't be able to reach the Crystal Tower's entrance. The idea that Sid came up with is to gather flawless aether crystals, one of each element. The only downside is that these crystals will lie deep inside the beast tribes. Sid believes that these crystals will be able to reflect the barrier's wrath. We must take the flawless crystal of earth from the kobolds, a flawless crystal of water from the Sahagin, a flawless crystal of fire from the Amalja, and a flawless crystal of air from the XIV. Before they can reflect the statues, they must first be cut and refined in a specific way to allow the reflective properties to be usable. To cut the stones, we need wind aspect and water aspect aether sand. Rambros did send out an employee to gather this for him, but it seems he hasn't returned and has asked us to get it for him instead. We run into a man whilst gathering water aspect aether sand, and he tells us that he already gathered all the sand. He then lets us know where to get wind aspect aether sand and wants to race us there. We beat him there and he lets us know of a secret area to get water aspect aether sand. With this, we now have both of the aether sands we need to refine our crystals. Just before we leave, we run into the man who states that we will meet him again soon. Each of the perfect crystals are cut correctly by Sid, and what lies before him are 4 different colored fangs. They should be able to pierce the Crystal Tower's defenses. With this, we should be able to reach the door of the Crystal Tower. Biggs and Wedge won't let Sid go without them, as they want to use the Allag technologies for themselves, but Sid denies the usage of said technologies. Men tend to meddle with technology they don't understand in promise of unimaginable power. This has brought us on the brink of oblivion on multiple occasions. The Garland Ironworks motto is freedom through technology. It is an oath to not create technology for tyranny. With all the knowledge Allag had, their civilization still crumbled, and their technology created Dalamud and Ultima, so it isn't trustworthy to use in the first place. The reason Sid wants to explore the tower is to seal away its secrets, not use it for any personal gain. Sid is complimented by a familiar voice. It is reminiscent of the man we met whilst out gathering aether sand. The man jumps from a ledge to reveal a Mikote. He is an archer with red hair and heterochromia eyes. His left eye is crystal blue, but his right eye is crimson red. He tells us his name is Grahatir, and he will be joining us on our expedition. He was assigned to join our group as an observer, as he has a lot of Allagan knowledge which could prove useful in our journey. He wants to call our band Noah, as it is short for Nominated Observers of Artifacts Historical. Also, Noah is a name shared with an Allag Archmagus. Wedge seems to agree with him and likes this name. Rambros doesn't care and asks if we're ready to depart. We all nod in unison, and Team Noah is ready to go. We arrive at the portal to the Crystal Tower. Going through it should lead to the 8 Sentinels still guarding the entrance. G'rahatia fires an arrow towards the barrier just to see how strong it is. The arrow is obliterated with no trace left behind. Cid takes responsibility as he was the one who made the fangs and goes to test if it works. In an instant, the fang reflects the shield and shatters 2 of the 8 Sentinels. It seems Cid's idea was a success. We proceed to use the rest of the fangs, each time destroying 2 of the 8 Sentinels till none remain. And with that, all 8 Sentinels have been demolished. It is too dangerous for everyone to come with us, so we are tasked with gathering a group of adventurers and venturing into the Crystal Tower with them to clear out any threats so they can join us afterwards. G'rahatia is displeased as he wants to explore the tower with us, but is convinced by Cid to stay behind and let us do our thing. G'rahatia tells us that our next step is the Labyrinth of Ancients, and we should contact him the moment we deem the place secure. Once arriving within the Labyrinth of the Ancients, the corridors are twisted and confusing. It makes sense why this place was called a labyrinth. After slaying some foes, we upon a bone dragon. He is tough, but we defeat him. After more exploring, we run into a few Atmos, beings of void, known to allow travel of void scent into our realm. Just a bit further and we collide with Thanatos. He is reminiscent of a Dullahan, a being without a head. We end up slaying him too, until we come upon a behemoth. Not just any behemoth, a king behemoth. Behemoths are already ferocious beings, with strength to take out anything unprepared for its wrath, but king behemoths are on another level. This one, in particular, has the ability to cast the spell Ecliptic Meteor, which will kill anyone if sufficient cover isn't provided. Alas, he is defeated, and we are brought face to face with our last challenge, an Allagan himself, known as Plethagon. We fight tooth and nail with the mighty warrior and end up victorious. After defeating the final threat, we let the rest of Noah know that the place is safe and that they can enter. It seems the Crystal Tower was constructed to collect endless energies of the sun, hence its size. We tell G'rahatia of the man we just slew. He tells us it is a man known as Plethagon, a hero of Allagan Revolution. It seems that the knowledge G'rahatia can gather from tomes is that the Crystal Tower is defended by champions of Allagan past. They are resurrected and augmented through their technologies. Biggs and Wedge spot an opening in the labyrinth, and it seems to lead to the base of the Crystal Tower itself. But today is not the day we do that. For now we return to St. Conach's Find to gather our strength and discuss our next step in the plan. We discuss with Rambros our findings in the labyrinth, and how we even made it to the base of the tower. The defenses on the inside were active and not weakened at all over time. This leads Cid to believe that the Crystal Tower was reawoken. Cid wants to keep the knowledge in the Crystal Tower and return it to a dormant state, but to do that we need to figure out how it works. To figure out how it works, we must enter the tower itself. Cid is tasked of analyzing the structure's defenses along with Biggs and Wedge. G'rahatia wants to use this time to refine his skills in combat so he can join us on our next adventure, but Rambros forbids him from doing so, as he is just an observer. Everyone is dismissed to do their own thing, and we'll meet back once Cid finds anything we can go off of. We cut to a mysterious man walking through the rubble of the 8 Sentinels left behind by us. He refers to Cid as an old friend. Apparently the energy readings atop the tower are even stronger than Ultima weapon. He removes his mask to reveal that he is none other than Nerotol Scaver. He seems to have survived our bout in the Praetorium. Who knows what his aim is, but it can't be for anything good. We stand affront a giant golden door. Cid is also here already. We are introduced to Une and Doga. They are scholars of ancient Allag sent to aid in the investigation. Their knowledge should prove useful in circumventing the tower's defenses. Beyond this door is Sycrus Tower, a spiral that leads up to the top of the Crystal Tower. The issue is the door is sealed shut. Cid cannot figure out how to open it. The only clue we have to go on is an image of a man and a woman who seem like royalty embroidered onto the door. Unei and Doga give each other a glance and walk towards the door. Apparently, the gate will open for them of its own accord. They cast some sort of spell, and just as they said, the gate opens for them. Just before they can explain what in the 7 hells is going on, they are interrupted by a man quoting a scripture that speaks of gates that were only open to those of royal blood. That man is Nero Tolskava. He finally shows himself to the party. Cid and Nero reunite again, but this time face to face. He claims he is to be of no threat, as the 14th Legion was destroyed and Garlemald will have his head for his failure, so he has opted for a more simple life of roaming around Eorzea. He heard of the Crystal Tower and deemed it to be fun, so decided to tag along. We are obviously reluctant, but he tries to win us over by explaining what Unei and Doga just did. The Crystal Tower is the symbol of Allag's might and prosperity. Only those who were royalty were able to enter the tower. This means that the Emperor and his descendants are the only people who are the key. So Unei and Doga must be descendants of the Allagan Emperor. But Nero states that it isn't quite that, but they are actually living clones made with Allag royal blood. Unei and Doga want to explain it themselves, but there is so much to discuss that they want to return to the 8 Sentinels so we can talk in a more fitting place. We still aren't trusting of Nero, so he decides to give Cid an Allagan tombstone, which details a lot of information about everything Allagan. Doga states that they are both copies of people who were once royalty in Allag. Rambros asks, what were they created for? What do they mean to do now? To answer this question, they must revisit Allagan history. So get comfy, we're going in. The Allagan Empire has existed for an extremely long time, longer than any of the current civilizations of Eorzea have. To stand at the pinnacle of their achievements lies the Crystal Tower. It stood as a symbol of Allagan's pride. The energy provided by the tower allowed the entire empire to prosper. However, with prosperity, it comes with stagnation. The empire reached its peak and it began to decline, as nothing could be improved. People became restless and demanded new leadership be put in place. In a few centuries, what was once a beautiful city became a shadow of its former self. All the nearby lands were abandoned. The state of the empire inspired a technologist to restore Allagan to its former glory. His name was Amon. The people wanted a strong ruler. Then who would have been a better ruler than the founding father of Allag, Emperor Zande? He sought to resurrect him using his technologies. In his attempt to resurrect Zande, he created clones. Unei and Doga are those very same clones he created in his attempt to resurrect him. Rambros backs them up by stating that record shows that there were 2 emperors of Allag known as Zande, but most people just assumed it was someone using the same name as him, but not actually him. Amon was successful and he brought Zande back from the dead and put him on the throne. The emperor restored his realm to its former glory, but Zande was not just satisfied with that. He wanted the entire world to be under Allagan dominion, and now that he has a second chance at life, he was going to achieve it. To achieve this, he had to harness the power of the darkness and converted the Crystal Tower into a research facility dedicated into harnessing this power. Cid states it's lucky that the darkness is long dead at this point, as it's over thousands of years old, but Doga interjects, stating that Zande is very much alive and still tampering with the darkness to this day. To use the darkness, one will need energy, and to get this energy, the Allagans sent up Dalamud to gather the sun's energy and channel it into the Crystal Tower. However, one day they miscalculated and caused an earthquake, one like no other. The destruction was massive, and the land surrounding it was split apart. In one moment, this earthquake reduced the Allagan Empire to rubble. This was known as the Fourth Umbral Calamity, and it ushered in the Fourth Umbral Era. With the earthquake, this caused the Crystal Tower to slowly sink into the land, but Amon and Zande managed to slow the flow of time and stop the tower from sinking all the way to the core. Every being within the tower was put into sleep as time was halted, and it awaited a time to re-emerge. As Dalamud was summoned back to Earth and its descent causing the 7th Umbral Calamity, this caused the Crystal Tower to reawake and pierce the lands. After that happened, Xande reawoke from his slumber. He will stop at nothing to get what he wants. Doga and Une's purpose is to put an end to Xande's madness. They inherited the will from the real Doga and Une. They couldn't do anything alone, but were waiting for reliable allies to help them slay Xande. They are confident in our abilities and that we might be able to stop Xande. Sid lets us decide what we'll do, and we decide to fight Xande and put an end to his reign once and for all. Just before we set off on our fight, Grahatia stays behind to converse with Une and Doga. He mentions that his right eye is like theirs. Does that mean he has Allag royalty within him? But Doga says that he inherited it from his father and clones are unable to have children. The red eye is known as the Allagan eye, or the royal eye. It only manifests when one is in possession of the royal blood. Nobody is sure why Grahatia has this eye, just that his questions will be answered in due time. We are given permission to enter the Sycrus Tower with a group of adventurers and slay Xande and any other threats that reside within. The first threat that we run into is a multi-headed dog known as Scylla. She seems to be a master of magic and the like, but we are able to overpower her and win. We press onwards and run into a being known as Glacia Labolas, an undead giant of some sort. His power is great, but we are greater. We come upon a room donned in red, a major shift in tone from the blue we have been seeing the entire time. We run into a mage wearing a poofy hat, but this is not just any mage, oh no. This is the one that started everything. This mage's name is Amon. Yes, the very same Amon mentioned earlier. However strong he may be, he ended up being no match for our team, and we end up defeating him and taking the path behind him. This path leads us atop the Sycrus Tower, and in the distance we can see Xande sitting at his throne. His strength rivals everything we have fought so far. The man is not revered for no reason, and he does not go down without a fight. After some time, he is defeated. And with that, the Sycrus Tower has been cleared. We await at the top of the tower, but spot a rift of darkness. The rest of Noah arrive and thank us for what we did, but that rift is still there. Nero seems to be doing something shady with his Aether Analyzer, but we do not know his goal. We must now seal off the Crystal Tower itself, but Doga and Une need to complete some tasks. We learn that the power Xande wanted to harness was known as the World of Darkness. If he managed to harness it, it would have given him an army of Voidsent. That rift was created when Xande entered a pact, which allowed the Voidsent to enter this world. Une and Doga will attempt to annul the pact as they share the same royal blood. As they're in the process of sealing the rift, Nero lets out a bellowing laugh. The readings seem to be off the charts. The rift opens even wider. We are surrounded by darkness versions of Une and Doga. We are granted a vision by our Echo. The vision depicts Xande and his clones discussing how the world is nearly under his entire rule, but he fears death. Knowing it once, he does not want to feel it again. Xande is afraid of the nothingness that comes with death, so instead he wants to allow the gate to be opened, to allow the cloud of darkness to engulf the entire world. The vision ends here. We return, still atop the tower. There seems to be no end to the clones. Grahatia is stricken with pain in his eye. Sid can even be seen fighting off the clones, which doesn't happen very often, but he is knocked to the floor by a fire spell. They keep coming. Nero states that a Voidsent controls the clones. Une screams for Doga as Doga is pulled into the void. Une is then pulled in afterwards. It is here that we finally learn what Nero came here to do. He wants to harness the darkness for himself, but without the two clones it is not possible to do so. Nero tries to save her but ends up getting caught in the rift and is pulled in too. The rift is known as the Cloud of Darkness, and she states that she will devour the light in our realm and bring it back to void. Just after that, the rift disappears and all the clones drop dead. Grahatia's pain in his eyes seems to subside. Sid decides that we should return to Rambros to discuss what happened. Rambros believes that they were drawn into the Void Gate and now in the Dark Realm beyond. We must save our comrades and defeat the Cloud of Darkness to avoid the threat posed by her. We are told to rest up until Rambros is able to find a solution to our rescue mission. We are told to go back to the top of Sycrus Tower, as it seems that Cid is able to open the gateway to the Void Realms by using a machine they created that harnesses the power of the Crystal Tower. G'raha seems distracted by the throne. It is now empty with Xande defeated. Cid remarks how the world might have been a different place if Allag's rule didn't decline. G'raha states that the people did attempt to fight against Allag rule, and they became the warriors of light of the past. Just before Xande lost to them, he wanted to open the rift to gain the Cloud of Darkness's power. He abrasively drained all of the energy harnessed by Dalamud into the Crystal Tower. That act was what caused the earthquake mentioned before. It seems like G'raha doesn't know where he got this knowledge from, as he never read it in any book. Cid, Biggs and Wedge are ready to rip open a void gate. The machine is activated and a gate to the void is opened. Just like before, we are pulled into the World of Darkness to slay the Cloud of Darkness with our fellow adventurers. We enter the World of Darkness. The area is definitely a huge palette swap from the previous raid. What was once a radiant blue is now a dark purple. Upon arriving, the first challenge we are met with is fighting a void scent known as Angra Mainyu, a gigantic Ahriman not seen on the likes of Eorzea. We defeat him and move on to the next enemy, a 5-headed dragon with the ability to control fire, ice, poison, thunder, and slime, based on which head he uses. A tricky foe, but not one we cannot defeat. The next threat that lies in our way is a 3-headed dog known as Cerberus. The beast is mighty, but by attacking him from within, we are able to defeat him. Our last challenge remains in front of us, the Cloud of Darkness herself. She is the embodiment of darkness. Her powers are like none that we fought previously, but we are able to defeat her. We defeat the Cloud of Darkness, but our comrades are unable to be found. Nero tells us to be quiet, otherwise we will attract more void scent. Nero is alive, with Une in his arms and Doga by his side, but Nero looks beyond messed up. His skin and armor are all purple. It must be from the taint of this realm. Apparently the wounds from this battle prior allowed the darkness to enter his body and shape his aether. Doga tried to protect him, but it was just not possible. Une and Doga are unaffected as they share the same blood as Xande. Just before we can all go home, it seems that the Cloud of Darkness was not defeated just yet, and threatens to kill us. This is the Cloud's realm, she has all the power here. If we aim to defeat her, then we cannot do it here. Doga and Une tells us that they can harm the Cloud here and defeat her physical form, then it should sever the pact with Xande, which would fulfill their dream. But to do this, they must remain in the Void Realm, as we retreat back to the Crystal Tower. Just before we can even react to this news, a stray bolt of lightning is fired towards G'raha, but the blast disperses around him. The Cloud of Darkness states that he too has the protection from Xande's blood. Everything that they have been alluding to has finally come through. G'raha is true Allagan royalty, sort of. He is not a clone, but one that is passed down through the line. With this, he has authority over the Crystal Tower. It seems to be a gift from Allag royalty themselves. They must have used technology to plant this gift in G'raha's ancestors. With the royal eye, there is a glimmer of hope, but to do this, G'raha must gain control of the Crystal Tower. Une and Doga offer up their blood so that his Allagan side may grow more powerful. G'raha accepts their gift, and both of his eyes turn red and become the royal eye. Using his newfound power, G'raha is able to open a rift in the realm of darkness to the Crystal Tower, but the Cloud will not let us escape so easily. Une and Doga hold her off. We see a light ahead of us, but we have no time. We cannot wait around here. With the pact becoming annulled, the bridge is losing its form. Before we reach the end, Nero collapses to his wound and tells us to leave him behind. He tells us to remember him, Nero Tol Skaver, a man who will surpass Allag and Garlond. G'raha is stricken with pain suddenly. A voice tells him to make the tower a symbol of hope again. We leave Nero behind and he is struggling to make it through the gate. Nero is determined to live. Suddenly the darkness corrupting Nero fades, stating that the clones must have been able to conquer the cloud of darkness, sealing her in that place forever, which cured Nero of his ailments. He rushes forward just as it seems as he won't make it. An arm reaches out towards him. It is none other than Sid's arm, stating Nero owes him one. Nero replies saying, "The hells I do." Everyone has returned safely atop the Crystal Tower, aside from Une and Doga, who valiantly stayed behind to seal the darkness once and for all. We tell the people atop the tower what happened to them, and how they sacrificed themselves for us, but did it to fulfill their purpose left behind by the original Une and Doga. G'raha Tia now has the ability to seal the tower, so with this we are able to stop anyone from using the technologies in this tower for tyranny. We will celebrate our victories, but will return and rest at the St. Konex Find, and deal with this next morn. G'raha Tia states that he will stay behind as there is something small he'd like to do, and we should go on ahead of it. He can be seen talking to himself about a wish that has not seen the light of day for a millennia, and it will finally be fulfilled. Even after our return, G'raha Tia is still missing for quite some time. We overhear that he is attempting to do something with the tower, so we rush towards the entrance of Sycrus Tower. G'raha Tia states that he will be sealing the tower, but nobody knows his plan. What does G'raha Tia aim to do with the tower? Is it something nefarious that awakened within him after gaining his full Allagan ability? He will not reveal his plan to us. We beg him to let us help him in any way, but he states that he has awakened to his destiny. After the fourth Umbral Calamity, not all of the residents perished. They looked for the Crystal Tower and prayed to it so the tower could become a beacon of hope that it was meant to be. This reached a member of Allag royalty, Selena. She was touched and used Allag technology to give her blood and memories to those who she trusted. After millennia, all the memory has returned to G'raha Tia, and the wish can be fulfilled by him. He will make this tower shine forth as a beacon of hope for all. G'raha Tia aims to put the tower into a deep sleep, just as Amon did. We cannot allow this to happen. To put it to sleep would mean that he must remain within the tower as it slumbers, forever waiting. He wants to put Sycrus Tower into stasis, and not take it out until men with technologies who rival the Allags are able to use it. Then he will be a guide to teach them how it works, and only then will they be able to make the tower a beacon of hope that it was meant to be. G'raha tells us that his future will be him waiting, but he wants us to create a future where hope remains, and maybe that hope will bring forth the age of technologies he desires, so his wish can be fulfilled. Sid, Biggs and Wedge have had their passion ignited. To save their friend, they will cover all the ground left by Allag in no time. They will come rescue him from the tower. G'raha Tia remarks that he looks forward to reading our histories about our deeds done in the future. He bids his final farewell to us, his friends, as the giant golden doors seal behind him. Slowly but surely, his image fades right before our very eyes. And with that, the Crystal Tower was put into stasis. We will do what we must to make sure that the future G'raha Tia sees will come true. We cut to Nero Tolskava, stating that the Crystal Tower is now in slumber. He bids farewell to Sid and throws his Aether Scanner into the abyss. He expresses, "A new dawn has come for me," and turns away from the Crystal Tower and begins to walk into the world of possibilities. Thus ends the tale of the Crystal Tower. That ends Chapter 2 of A Realm Retold, which details the story of the Crystal Tower. And what a story it was. We lost a lot of our comrades and gained a new reason for doing what we do. What we learned within the Crystal Tower will never be forgotten. I think most people came out of this experience a changed person. I believe Nero will be no different. Having people work together and sacrifice for others has to change a man. Seeing what he did in that final cutscene really alludes to that. The build-up of G'raha Tyr's history and his send-off is one to be remembered always. Everything we do now is driven in reason of providing a future for him to awake to. The next chapter will be covering the Coil of Bahamut raid. I won't be covering every raid in every expansion, but I feel like Coils is different. It rounds off the story told from the 7th Umbral Calamity and brings a closure to everything that has happened from Dalamud's descent till now. By now we all know it, but if you enjoyed the video, please consider giving it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. If you want more content like this, consider subscribing. I thank you for your time if you made it this far through the video. May you ever walk in the light of the crystal.